Hi everyone, welcome to the START's trainee briefing. I'll take you through some slides and then we'll have some time for questions and answers at the end. First up, it's not an exam. Now I know this is a familiar feeling that everyone has about START, that it feels like an exam. If it walks like an exam, then it must be an exam, but it's just a reminder and a reassurance that we know that whilst it can feel that way, it's not treated like an exam. So you don't need to worry about it. There's nothing to prepare. So the question then, what is it? It is a discussion with external trained consultant assessors, and it's a meeting with them. It's not about a pass or fail. We use scenario-based discussions. So it's just like a professional conversation with a consultant colleague. It's pitched at consultant day one level. So we look at what we're expecting from someone who's just CCT'd, and it's formative and developmental. We look at where you are now and where you need to be for a day one consultant. And that's why it's an exam. An exam will assess where you are now, and it will be pass or fail. Whereas this assessment looks at where you are now and the possible gap between now and being consultant ready. So we do appreciate it can feel like an exam, but it's just a reminder that it's not. So what we'll cover today, we'll test your system to make sure it works. We will prepare and we'll look at how START works, and there'll be some question and answers. Just to say, we won't be discussing scenarios. If you do want to look at that level of detail, there are some specimen scenarios on our website. You can go to, if you just do a Google search RCPCH START, the second option is actually scenarios, so you can have a look there. Testing your system. So this is really straightforward. You will get a link from Osler, that's the platform provider. So if you want to check your junk mail for info@osleronline.co.uk, that's where it will come from. You don't need to download anything, it's a web browser, so you just follow the link and use the username and password that you'll be provided with, and then you're in. Just a reminder also, please not to use NHS Trust Wi-Fi or NHS computers. They can cause problems. They're not compatible with Osler, so we do ask that you use a personal laptop. If there's a real problem and you can't use any other device but an NHS computer, then just let us know and we'll try and speak to Osler and see if there's anything they can send for guidance or advice that we can relay to you. But it is known to be problematic and can cause problems with the running of the assessment, so please do avoid it if you can. We would need to use a laptop or a desktop. Tablets or phones aren't compatible, and Chrome is the browser to use, so that's a laptop or a desktop, and please use Chrome. Osler has been tested with Chrome and we know it runs smoothly. We have had a couple of people in the past where for whatever reason they've tried Chrome and it wasn't working, and they tried Safari. We've had Edge and Firefox, and all three on different instances did work, but it's not what Oz has been tested with, so it's a backup. If you really find on the day that Chrome's not working, we can try with the other. But as I say, we're sort of 99% sure, 100% sure that Chrome is the one to use. In terms of timings, well, all you need to do is log in. The system will automate you through. Timings for the day. It's 8:20 for the morning session and 1:24 if you are in the afternoon. You'll be in a briefing room when you start, so just by virtue of your joining, you'll join the briefing room and we'll know you've logged in successfully. We'll check your connection is stable and you'll be able to compose yourself and ask any questions. If you think of anything after today, you can email us at training.services at rcpch.ac.uk, or you can ask them on the day. Obviously, if it's anything pertinent, then you should try and do that in advance. One trainee will start the first safe prescribing early. In fact, I think we might even have 2 doing that. That's just so that everyone can fit in and we can run the assessment for everybody. It's the way we allocate the stations to fit everybody in. So you'll just need to listen out carefully in the briefing room in the morning, and that's where we'll announce who will be starting safe prescribing early. You won't need to do anything. You'll be taken directly to the safe prescribing room automatically by the system, and everyone else will be taken to the waiting room, and you'll then start the station after that, but the system will automate you through. Each block, again, so this is just for information, but you won't need to worry about keeping track of time. Each station is a block of 12 minutes, so you have a 4-minute reading time and an 8-minute discussion time. The only exception to this is the safe prescribing station, because you have a double length time to prepare. So you get 16 minutes for safe prescribing, which is a block of 12, and then 4 minutes reading time in the next station to then go into your 8-minute discussion. So for all stations except for safe prescribing, you have 4 minutes. You don't really need to use the full 4 minutes to read, because realistically it takes 30-45 seconds to read it. You'll then use the rest of your 4 minutes to craft what you're going to say and how you're going to approach the scenario with the assessor. And 30 seconds time is for the system to refresh, and it will then click you automatically into the next room. There, we'll go to the next slide. Scenarios. So as you'll know from your curriculum, there's a number of domains. They are tested, and these are all the scenarios they're tested through, from critical appraisal down to, say, scenario-based discussion. Communication is tested throughout, as it is about scenario-based discussions, and therefore will be applicable to all. Then there is also the generic level 3 curriculum, and these are the areas where it's tested. You won't necessarily do the scenarios in this order. There's also the trainee specialty focus scenarios, so that would be the general paediatrics or any subspecialty, and they can test across the breadth of any of these domains. So that's what the framework is for START. Those are the scenarios we have, and that's the way we assess how you're completing the curriculum and ensuring you're day 1 ready as a consultant.
Critical appraisal, you'll have an 8-minute discussion. We send you the article in advance, and you'll get 5 days ahead of the assessment to prepare for a discussion on it. You can't really time yourself to talk for 8 minutes and know that that's it, you're done, because it might be a back and forth conversation depending on the assessor's style of discussion. The assessor may want to ask you questions about the salient points in the article and what you've picked up from it, but you can do rough tests and know that you can at least talk on those salient points that you've prepared for. And if you want to have an aid memoir, then that's absolutely fine. You can take any notes with you to refer to into the discussion with you. For teaching, you also have an 8-minute discussion. You won't get sent it in advance. You will have 4 minutes to prepare, and it's a video conference training session with learners, so you'll be able to engage with the learners there, and the assessor will be there as well. You might have a list of topics to choose from. You might be given a topic, or you might have to choose your own. It depends on the scenario on the day. You will have a handover sheet to review, and you also have a safe prescribing station. This will be a discussion, not a task. You may wish to refer to the BNFC online or the app, or the latest paper version of the BNFC, so please have this available to you should you think it necessary to use it during the task. It will also be a double-length scenario, because there's a fair bit of reading for the safe prescribing station. You will have 16 minutes prep time and then an 8-minute discussion. The way that you have it on the system, you're in one virtual room for the prep, and then you move into another virtual room for the discussion. So there won't be an assessor present with you while you're doing your prep work. And if you're taking notes, then we advise that you take hard copy notes rather than use the box on the screen. And that's because when you go into the next virtual room, the electronic notes don't carry through. but we'll go into that a little bit more when we look at the screenshots of the system. Don't worry too much about the timings. These are just for your information, but there will be a good chunk of time to do your prep, and there'll be a countdown on the screen on the day. The system will automate you through, and you won't need to worry at any point about timings. Just keep an eye on the countdown.
Now, this is for your scenario-based discussions. You will get a contents page on at the first thing you see when you go into the station. So you will need to choose from it the page that you want to go to. Each page is really clearly marked with what it is on the left-hand side as a sort of watermark. So if, for example, you're general paediatrics, it will say general paediatrics along the left-hand side of the paper. So don't worry too much about, you can't go too wrong with finding the wrong scenario. Ratings on the mark sheet. This is how your feedback is broken down, what you'll see when you get your feedback at the end, and what will go on your start feedback on your portfolio. One thing I'd like to highlight is the further development rating, just because sometimes trainees get disheartened when they see it. But I just want to reiterate that it doesn't mean you're not performing as a trainee at the right level of a trainee, because this is about pitching at a level of a day one consultant. So because we're looking at the gap between where you are now and where you need to be a consultant, then that's where we're saying there's further development required. It just means that if you get this rating, you're performing at the level of a senior trainee, but to then get to day one level consultant, there's just a few more things you might need to look at to bridge that gap. And hopefully the feedback will outline what that is, what the gaps are, what you need to do. Meets expectation. Well, this is great. If you get it, it means you're performing at the level of a day one consultant. Above expectation, this is really great. It obviously means it's an area of strength for you if you get this rating. Significant concerns. If you get this, it probably means you're performing below the level you're already at, but just in this scenario and station that is being marked accordingly. So the best thing to do would be to talk through the comments with your supervisor, attend to those comments and see where the thinking is coming from, and then can you decide how you're willing to approach it together with your supervisor. So we would recommend putting in place a start PDP and addressing those issues. It could be that normally you do really well and this is really a blip on the day for whatever reason, it can happen, and you and your supervisor will best know if that's the case and if it isn't a reflection of your current practice. So don't be disheartened if that's the case. You can decide with your supervisor how best it is you want to address that rating and that comment for that scenario. We don't routinely go through and review or remark anything. It is an assessment, not an exam, so you can't resit it. If you do think, oh, I said this and I said that and it's not been picked up, unfortunately we can't go back and over anything. It was just a discussion that's taken place between yourself and the assessor, but you can deal with it through a discussion with your supervisor, identifying what really are the areas to focus on and what might have been a blip on the day. So those are the ratings, and that's what they mean. Let's take a look at your system on the day. You'd need to find the best spot for your Wi-Fi. It may be a good idea to sit near your router. If you know that you get poor signal elsewhere in the house. Take yourself to a quiet place if hopefully there's no roadworks or anything like that going on for you, and you can have a bit of peace and quiet to do your assessment. You need to align your camera. Dress code is whatever is comfortable for you. You're not marked on professional attire or anything like that. And then if you read the guide that we will email you about the system, that is essential as well. The system is great. It's really user friendly. And if you log in, it will take you through the setup. This is the login screen you'll see. You'll get a PIN and username from us. And then you'll need to do a system check in advance of the assessment, please. It will take you through the setup, and once you've done all of this, if you could drop an email to the training services team that at the training.services@rcpch.ac.uk address, just to let us know that you've tested the system and that it works, that would be wonderful. So the system checks everything for you. It takes you through the camera, microphone, and Wi-Fi check, and look at the quality of your connection as well. Just follow any instructions or prompts on the screen. If you need any help with that, if you have problems logging in, you can email Osler directly. Their email is help@osleronline. That's OSLER online.co.uk, and I'll put their email up at the end of the slideshow. This is what you'll see when you enter your station for the first time. So when you log in the morning of the assessment or the afternoon of the assessment, you will you'll be taken into a waiting room, like a briefing room. Then you'll go to a waiting room. Then some of you will start safe prescribing prep, and the rest of you will be waiting in the waiting room, and then you'll all start your stations, and this is what you'll see. It looks a little bit different when you get to the assessment, the actual discussion with the assessment, but I'll show you that next. So the magnifying glass on the right hand side will allow you to zoom in and out. You've also got, if I just point to that, that's here, these two. These up and down arrows will allow you to scroll up and down the document to check there are the number of pages there are. So you might want to do that just to make sure you've seen the full brief. Then also there is the countdown of timing, which is over here. So you'll always see a countdown, and this will be, this here will be your image, your camera image. So when you go in with the assessor, so when the 4 minutes reading time has counted down, you go into the 8-minute block for your discussion. That 8 minutes will start counting down over here at number 6. Your assessor image will take up the biggest portion of the screen. That will be here. You'll see that there's a little bar symbol. It's just a bit small here, but when it's on your screen, it'll be bigger. Here and in right hand side of your image and the assessor image, and that's the quality of your connection, of your internet strength. A good connection will mean that hopefully everything's working smoothly. It's a good indicator to have. So if, for example, you're having trouble hearing your assessor, or they're having trouble hearing you, you just check that internet strength bar, because that can help identify what the problem might be. And you can just message us in the chat, which is number 7 here, down the bottom, the speech bubbles, and we can always say to the assessor, oh, can you refresh your screen, for example, because we know you've got poor internet connection. That's number 10 is the refresh button. So, and likewise, we can contact you if we notice that your strength is, the quality of your connection is dropping. We can get in touch with you and advise. So yeah, for anything at all, not just the connection, your contact line to us is the speech bubbles. So use that and start typing the name of the person. And when we go through the briefing in the morning or the afternoon briefing, depending on which session you're doing, we will let you know the names of the people who can help you. So you would just go to the speech bubbles and start typing the name of the person, and they'll pop up with allow you to send a message to them. So a bit more about these other icons. Number 3 is the candidate brief. So this is where your scenario is. So say you go into the discussion and you want to remember or signpost to a part of the scenario, you can pull up the scenario by going to number 3 and clicking on that brief, and it will pop up on the screen, and you can remind yourself of what you wanted to say. Number 5 is the schedule for the day. That's this. So if you wanted to look down and see where you are, whereabouts you are, you can do that. Number 8 is to report an incident. So this would be if something serious went wrong, or like a big technical error. Hopefully that won't be the case. You can use the chat function for most things to us, but if there was something like catastrophic, then you could click on this hazard sign, and that sends a report straight to Osler. We'll see that as well, but for most things you can use the chat function. Number 10 is refresh. It's to use when there's a connection problem or if you have any visual disturbances, and it solves 98% of problems. So number 10, it will take you through the whole test check setup again. So you'd go through the camera testing, the mic testing, but it will take you back to where you were. So if you're in the middle of a station, it will put you back in that station. Number 11 is to use at the end of the day. So when you're ready to log out, you press number 11 and that will log you out, but we'll advise you when it's time to log out. This is just from the guide that you'll get from Osler with the PIN email. So I won't go through all of it, but it's just checking that like your permissions are enabled in Chrome for camera and microphone, making sure you log in properly, pasting the exact PIN and exact username.
Just some takeaways. So please do check your system. When you get your login email, there'll be a URL and a PIN, and you must use that to check and go through the test setup for camera, microphone and connection and signal strength. That will all help us to make sure that on the day everything runs smoothly. So please do test that and let us know it's working okay. You can email us at training.services@rcpch.ac.uk just to confirm that everything is running smoothly and you've logged in fine. On the day, you can join at these times. I do recommend that you join 10 minutes ahead of the start time just to make sure you're logged in okay and are there in good time for the briefing to begin. Feedback will be released 6 weeks after the date of the last assessment of the diet. For any problems in advance of the day, contact us at training.services@rcpch.ac.uk. For help logging in, please contact Osler at help@osleronline.co.uk. And on the day itself, please use the chat function or call 020 8396 4340 for tech support. So that's everything you need to know. All the best for your START assessment. I hope it runs smoothly for you and that you get a lot out of the experience.